Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Holly Stearns. Children are our future, but cancer does not discriminate. It is a major cause of death in children worldwide. While there has been tremendous progress in fighting childhood cancer, significant investment is required to improve access to treatments and diversify research. But how? Well, Lance Kawaguchi is extremely passionate about this and is leading the team at Cure Brain Cancer Foundation to achieve this very goal. Lance joins me now. Welcome to you, Lance. Before we get stuck into this very important conversation and the amazing work that you're doing, I firstly want to congratulate you on winning CEO of the Year Third Sector Awards, as well as CEO Magazine's Not-for-Profit Executive of the Year, and securing the CEO Magazine cover for December. You're the first CEO to win both awards in the same year. Amazing achievement for you.
No, thank you, Holly, and it's always great to be here.
Okay, let's get straight into it. I'm also joined by Simon and Benjamin Gray, whose family has been impacted by cancer today. Thank you both for your time today. I really appreciate you being with me and being open to talk to me about this important cause. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Lance, firstly, can you tell us about your push to fight childhood cancer?
Yeah, from my perspective, Holly, it's critically important that we invest more in childhood cancer. And for example, the guests that we have on, they're going to be talking about DIPG, which is one of the most deadliest form of brain cancer for children. That gets underfunded just because there's not enough cases. That's what most people say. So I want to make sure that we can have enough funds to support not just certain types of cancer, but blood cancers are important, but also the cancers that have less volume and doesn't get all the attention, because things like DIPG, those are critically important. Just because there's not that many cases doesn't mean it's not important.
I mean, Simon, you lost your son, Tom, every parent's absolute worst nightmare. Why is it so important to you? Can you just walk us through your experience and why it's so important that we raise awareness for childhood cancer?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Holly. It's really important that we raise awareness because we do, like Lance says, need to raise more funds for this type of cancer. Our little boy Tom was 7 when he was diagnosed with a DIPG, which is a brainstem brain tumour that over the course of a 13-week period reduced him from a vitally fit, healthy young boy into someone that couldn't live any longer. It just slowly stopped him from being able to move and then communicate, and then ultimately it stopped him breathing. And the reason that my family and I do we do with Lance and Cure Brain Cancer is because we don't want another parent to have to sit in a room with a bunch of doctors and be told, just go create some memories. There's really nothing that we can do for your family, your son. There's no ifs, buts, or maybe. He's just going to die.
Oh, powerful words there. I mean, it is absolutely every parent's worst nightmare and not something that anyone should have to go through. Ben, given the loss of your brother, where do you want to see more support?
I think really it's crucial that we see more support in the diagnosis of brain cancer. You can see that the earlier the diagnosis, the better the results are. For someone with DIPG, it's obviously terrible and it's the deadliest brain cancer you can have. There's a 0% survival rate, but for other cancers there is still hope for early diagnosis. Really, along with that, we just want to see more funding and more attention in general to brain cancer to try and improve survival rates for the rare and very deadly forms such as DIPG.
And I really thank you both for being here today because even though it's difficult to speak about, it's important that we have these conversations because cancer does not discriminate. Lance, ultimately children are our future and we have the ability to save millions of lives here. There is a growing urgency to invest more in developing specific treatments for children. How are you working at Cure Brain Cancer Foundation to make that happen?
Well, for us, Holly, it's really about getting the awareness out, similar to what Ben said, and really just trying to galvanize the community. I have to commend Simon and Ben. Many people, they go two ways. One, they have a negative event and then they really get negative, they get very kind of cynical. Simon and Ben have really just rallied, got Team Tom together. We were at the walk together, obviously with you also, Holly, and really pushing to raise funds. But it's going to take a collaborative effort globally. That's why I'm sitting in New York. I'm going to be announcing something big on Friday.
Okay.
But I really want to make sure that people view Australia as a center of excellence for biotech and really encourage early stage companies, especially ones that are focusing on on children's cancer like DIPG, to encourage them to do their trials in Australia, because it's critically important. What I don't want to see is any more people, as Ben said, say you have 0% probability of survival, just have memories. That's not acceptable in my mind. I'm a parent and I would do anything to protect my kids. So for me, it's really just keeping that kind of sense of urgency and that mindset that reflects Ben and Simon.
Okay, Lance, thank you for your time. Ben and Simon, thank you so much for your openness and willing to speak to me today. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Holly.
And welcome back in, everyone, as we continue our chat today about childhood cancer. We're also joined today by Katie and Grayson Banovich and Andrew McPhillamy, who have all been impacted by childhood cancer. Thank you for your time today. I understand this is obviously a difficult discussion, so thank you for allowing me to speak with you about this and opening yourself to this discussion. Katie, I'll start with you. Can you tell us about your experience with beautiful Grayson there?
Yes, of course. So as a mom, it's my primary job to keep my children safe. When they're in pain, I'm here to fix it and make it all better. But when Grayson was 3, he started having debilitating pain in his leg, and I couldn't fix it. At first it was intermittent, but before long he couldn't play soccer, he couldn't sleep through the night, and he couldn't make it through a day of school. So I took him to see every specialist and doctor I could find trying to get answers, but it was an MRI that finally found the giant tumor growing in his spine. So Grayson had a rare type of cancer called ganglioneuroblastoma. If we'd waited much longer, Grayson probably wouldn't be walking today. So after the diagnosis, it was a whirlwind of tests, anesthesia, hospital beds, and 3 major surgeries.
And glow sticks and popsicles.
And some
But
popsicles.
14 days later, Grayson walked out of that hospital on his own 2 feet. So we're very lucky and very fortunate.
You are very lucky and fortunate, and what a positive story that is. But for so many families, it isn't as positive as that, and we rely on early research and funding for this, and treatment as well, and early diagnosis. Andrew, your family has been impacted by childhood cancer and its horrific reality. Through your experience, what are, say, the flaws in the system in regards to early diagnosis and funding and research that you'd like to see implemented today?
Thanks, Holly. I think in our experience, the key flaws have been a lack of options for treating paediatric brain tumours. That's a lack of research on ependymoma and the limited clinical trials globally for ependymoma. Our daughter Olivia was diagnosed at 18 months of age. We were faced with 2 challenges at the time. Firstly, the devastating news that our daughter was very, very unwell. Secondly, there being limited options to treat her at such a young age. The treatment protocol for ependymoma in adults is surgery followed by radiotherapy, but it's very high risk. Giving children under the age of 3 years radiation at such a important stage of cognitive development. So the plan was put to us for surgery, followed by 18 months of chemotherapy. And that was based on a trial out of the UK. The 5-year survival rate for children on the trial was something in the order of 40%. But we had limited options, so we put our trust in the team and we proceeded. Olivia, my wife, and I spent 430 nights in Randwick Children's Hospital over a space of about 2 years. Most of that was unplanned. Brain cancer is brutal. Olivia is not out of the woods, but right now she's a 7-year-old who's thriving and a social little butterfly.
And Olivia sounds absolutely beautiful. Katie, what's your message for people today and advice to other families fighting childhood cancer?
So my son's story is a story of hope. He has a happy story with a happy ending, but I know that's not true for most cancer patients. But it's becoming true more and more through the work that we're all doing together. So get involved. Everyone can help. Awareness of the problem leads to motivation to solve it, and motivation leads to action. And Lance once said, cancer is a global problem and caring does not stop at the border. Only 6 new drugs have been approved exclusively for childhood cancer in the last 3 decades. And in low-income countries, they rarely have access to advanced treatment options for their children. Research and access are desperately needed. Curing cancer is going to start with funded research, and it ends with every child diagnosed with cancer being able to walk out of the hospital. And Grayson also has a message.
Thank you for helping kids like me.
Oh, thank you, Grayson. That is absolutely beautiful, and our viewers will be so thankful to hear you say that. Andrew, do you have some final words?
I think what I would say is, we need to find a cure. To find a cure, we need more treatment protocols. To achieve this, we need more clinical trials, and to achieve this, we need more research. We need more funding across all of these disciplines: research, clinical trials, and treatment protocols. It's really urgent work, and it's urgent because brain cancer kills more children than any other disease in this country.
Lance, at the head of CBCF, when you hear these stories of real lives being impacted, how does that drive you to achieve your fight against childhood cancer?
Well, for us at Cure Brain Cancer Foundation, it's just really moving at a pace of urgency. As Katie mentioned, even if you can give someone hope, that's the most important thing, because once you don't have hope, you have nothing. So for us, to both Katie and also Andrew's point, it's really about funding and getting more research and more trials and treatments. Because I think what we learned at COVID, and we spoke about this before, is that if there's a coordinated effort globally and also the proper funding, anything can happen. You can get a vaccine for something that's completely novel in 18 months. Cancer's been around for thousands of years and we're still dealing with it. So I strongly believe that if everybody pulls together and we can focus on raising enough funds and awareness, we can tackle the brain cancers and all the cancers that don't get all the attention. Because it's critically important that we try to protect our children, because everyone I meet always wants to find a cure, and I cannot stand when people don't have options. Because if you don't have options, you don't have hope.
Lance Kawaguchi, thank you. And thank you everyone for your time today. I really appreciate it once again.
Thank you.
And my name is Holly Stearns. Thank you for your time today as well. We'll be back right after this.
Those are critically important. Just because there's not that many cases doesn't mean it's not important.